The day Sarah Reeves carried her children into the old stone bell tower, the town gathered along the frozen main street, breath clouding the air, ready to watch a disaster unfold.
You'll freeze in that stone tomb, Sarah. You'll freeze those children right along with you. Come on, Tom. We don't stop for stones that talk.
She carried the bundled baby and led her son up the worn stone steps, the scruffy dog already settling on a landing as if it had been waiting for them.
Mama, why do they speak so cruel?
Because fear makes people small, Tom. And we don't have room for smallness. She'll learn what cold stone does to a baby's lungs. Mark my words.
By the time the heavy tower door swung shut behind her, the town had already written the ending they expected.
Let them talk. This tower is mine now, and no one can take it from us.
She climbed past the dog, past the cold, damp stairs, into the dark bell chamber above. Whatever the town believed, Sarah Reeves was no longer listening. She knelt before the iron stove, feeding it kindling while the baby rested on an overturned crate.
Keep close, Tom. The stone is cold now, but that will change.
The flame caught, and a low orange light began pushing back the chamber's darkness. Hours later, she climbed to the upper room and found it already warmer than the stairwell.
It's warmer up here. The heat climbed right where we need it.
Mama, will we really be warm tonight? I heard them say the stone would freeze us.
Heat rises, Tom. The stone will hold it around us. They can't see what we feel.
But why did they laugh at us, Mama? I don't understand.
Because they looked at this tower and saw a grave. I looked and saw 4 walls and a roof. That's all a home needs.
That night, with the stove breathing warmth up through the stones, the children slept soundly, and Sarah sat awake, watching the frost on the window and listening to the wind.
You can't walk through this town with those children and pretend all is well. That tower's a slow coffin. We slept warm, Mrs. Calloway. You can believe what you want, but I know what my children felt.
Mama, look at the sky. The clouds are racing, but there's no wind down here. It's wrong.
The valley held its breath. Not a leaf stirred, not a bird called. Sarah felt the pressure change deep in her bones.
A storm is coming. I have to seal the tower tight before it finds a way in.
She climbed every drafty window and stuffed them with rags and frozen mud until her fingers were raw, but the cracks began to disappear.
Hold the candle close, Tom. The flame will tell me where the air still slips through.
The dog lifted its head and whined, a low sound that trembled in the dark. Then the first flake dropped, fat and heavy, onto the stone step outside.
It started. Now we find out if this tower is a tomb or a fortress.
The blizzard struck with a hammer blow, snow and wind erasing the valley, as the old stone tower shuddered.
Tom, take the baby. The stove isn't strong enough down here. We're moving upstairs now.
But Mama, it's dark up there, and the wind sounds so angry.
Dark never hurt anyone. It's the cold that kills. Trust me.
When they reached the upper chamber, the air was dry and still. The heat had climbed before them, pooling just where they would sleep.
Mama, it's warm. How is it warm up here?
Heat rises. Remember, the stone holds it around us. Let the wind howl. We're not its concern.
She lit the lantern, and in the glow, Tom's fear faded. The dog settled at the foot of the bed, a warm, steady presence. As the storm raged, the children slept on, wrapped in a warmth that felt defiant against the cold stones. Outside, the blizzard screamed. But inside, the first night passed with every small breath, a quiet victory. When dawn broke, it brought no mercy. The blizzard still clawed at the valley, and the river, swollen with meltwater, began swallowing the low cabins.
Tom, look. The river's over the bank. The Cooper place is half underwater already.
Will the water reach us up here, Mama?
No. We're high and dry, but those cabins are drowning.
In the drafty church below, Father Harmon pressed his hands together and prayed, but the cold seeped through the stone like a warning.
The widow in the tower. She has no one else to check on them.
He pulled on his coat and took the lantern, stopping to look out at the tower through the frosty window.
If they're still alive, I'll know soon enough.
He pushed open the heavy door to the tower stair, and the wind slammed against it. But he pushed through. Father Harmon began the climb into the darkness, the lantern's light swaying with each determined step. Halfway up the stairs, a desperate banging shook the church doors below. Father Harmon stopped, his breath catching.
Hold on. I am coming down.
He unlatched the heavy wooden door to find a mother and her 2 children, snow-crusted and shaking.
The church isn't safe tonight. It's too cold. But the tower might have warmth. We'll climb together.
He led them into the stone stairwell. The woman clutched her youngest, and they began the ascent behind the swaying lantern.
Mama, there are voices on the stairs. Someone's coming.
They've come for the warmth. I knew this would happen.
She opened the door a crack, then wider, and the sudden warmth rushed out, bathing the priest and his shivering companions.
Sarah, you've made it a sanctuary. I felt the heat 10 steps down.
The woman and her children pressed against the stone wall, their trembling slowly stopping. The tower's warmth had just grown a little heavier.
Mama, there's more people outside. I can hear them crying through the snow.
Every knock sounds like the laugh I heard on the street, but I won't be the stone that traps them.
She pulled the door open to find a family of 3, their faces half frozen, their eyes wide with desperation.
Don't stay down here. Climb to the upper room. The heat rises and waits for you.
More followed, and more still, each pounding on the door like a heartbeat the storm was trying to stop.
You are safe now. Sit close. Share the warmth. The stone holds it like a faithful dog.
But Mama, these people, they called us fools. Why are we helping them?
Because I am not them. And this tower was never just for us.
The dog pressed its nose to the door and whined, a low, urgent call that matched the pounding on the other side. Sarah opened the door to the storm once more, and the tower swallowed the lost without asking for an apology. The storm raged harder, floodwaters rising. Inside, the warmth held, but the people carried winter in their bones.
Sarah, more souls are lost out there. The bell could guide them.
If I ring that bell, it won't just call the lost. It will call every eye that judged us.
But Mama, if we don't ring, they might die. We can't be like them.
Sarah looked at her son, then up the stairs toward the bell chamber. The rope hung still in the shadows. She climbed the last steps and stood beneath the massive bell, her lantern casting swaying shadows. She placed her hand on the thick rope, feeling the cold hemp bite her palm.
One pull, and the whole town will know we're here. One pull, and the tower won't be just ours anymore.
The bell hadn't sounded in years. One pull, and the valley would know the tower was sanctuary. Sarah tightened her grip on the rope. The decision trembled in her hand. A cry slipped through the howl, a child's voice, small and desperate, cutting the storm like a blade.
That's enough. I am done waiting.
She pulled the rope with all her weight. The bell groaned. Then its first toll shattered the blizzard. The sound rolled across the valley, a deep, brazen voice the wind couldn't silence. In their frozen cabins, heads turned. The tower was no longer a tomb. It was calling.
Mama, it's so loud. It sounds like the whole world can hear.
That's the point, Tom. Let them follow the sound home.
Through the whiteout, dark shapes began moving toward the tower, bent against the wind. The dog barked once, a sharp echo, as if answering the bell itself. The bell tolled on, and with every strike, The tower became a little less Sarah's alone. Among the new arrivals, a figure stumbled through the door. Mrs. Calloway, her shawl frozen stiff, her face a mask of shame. The room fell silent. Every person remembered her sharp words, but now she couldn't lift her eyes from the stone floor.
I have nowhere else. The river took my house. I heard the bell. She mocked us yesterday, but she's shaking like a leaf. This isn't about pride.
Sarah met her eyes and said nothing. She simply stepped aside, opening the way to the warm upper room.
Mama, that's the woman who called us fools.
I know, but the tower doesn't ask who's worthy. It just holds.
She broke what little bread they had into smaller pieces, passing them among the huddled crowd without ceremony.
We'll need more wood soon, Sarah. The stove is eating faster than we can feed it.
Outside, the bell still tolled in steady rhythm, and more people pressed through the door, bringing the cold with them. The stove's glow had faded to a dull orange heart, and the woodpile near the door was now just a few scattered chips.
The wood won't last the night, and without it, the heat will stop rising.
She stood in the lower chamber, staring at the empty corner where the logs had been, and her spine went cold.
Mama, you've been standing still for a long time. What's wrong?
Nothing you need to carry, Tom. Go back to the baby.
You are a bad liar. The stove is dying, isn't it? I can feel the chill.
She looked at her son, and for a moment the weight of it nearly broke her composure.
Yes, the wood is almost gone. I have to go to the shed.
But the blizzard will swallow you. Take the dog at least.
She knelt and tied her shawl tight. The decision was made, and the storm was waiting.
I'll hold the rope from inside. If it goes slack, I'll pull. Just come back.
She tied the rope around her waist, testing the knot until it bit into her palm. The dog pressed against her leg, ready. She pulled open the heavy door. The storm swallowed the opening instantly, a solid wall of white. She stepped into the whiteout, and the wind slammed her sideways. For a moment, she saw nothing but spinning gray. The dog surged ahead, its low silhouette the only compass. She followed, rope paying out slowly behind. She crashed into the woodshed door, numb fingers fumbling for the latch. Inside, the dark was still, but the cold was a live thing. She loaded her arms with split logs, the bark cutting through her sleeves. Frost was already forming on her eyelashes. Inside the tower, Tom felt the rope go slack, and his heart stopped. He gripped it harder, whispering her name.
Don't stop. The tower needs every scrap of heat.
Clutching the wood, she stepped back into the blindness. The wind had shifted, and the rope was her last thread to the world. The rope went slack, and Tom's heart stopped. He pulled, hand over shaking hand, whispering her name into the dark. Outside, the whiteout stole every direction. The dog strained at her leg, pulling her against the wind. She stumbled, the wood biting her arms, and the rope bit back, a sudden jerk that nearly pulled her off her feet. Inside, Tom felt the rope tighten. He wrapped it around his wrist and pulled with all his strength. The door burst inward, and Sarah fell through the frame, logs scattering across the stone. The dog shook snow from its coat, barking once, as if announcing victory. Hands reached for her. Father Harmon, a farmer, even Mrs. Calloway, pulling her upright, stripping the frozen wood from her arms. She knelt by the stove, fingers too numb to feel the kindling, and forced herself to feed the embers. Flames caught, and orange light surged up the stone, carrying the promise of another night. No one spoke. The tower had just been given back its heat, and they all knew who had paid for it. Mrs. Calloway, still huddled near the stove, lifted her eyes. "Thank you," she said, the words barely a whisper. Sarah gave only a nod. Then the dog growled low, and a heavy fist pounded once, then slid down the wood. The door burst open, and Mr. Bryce, the farmer, fell through, his coat frozen solid.
Help, my wife and boy. Lost in the white near the mill.
Sarah caught him. Frost covered his eyelids, and his voice cracked like breaking ice.
I followed the bell once. You have to ring it again. They'll hear it and find their way.
Every head turned towards Sarah. The tower already held more than it was built for.
If I ring, more will come. Then we risk the cold stealing in. But if I don't...
She looked up at the rope. The weight wasn't new, but it was heavier now. Without a word, she began to climb. She reached the bell chamber, her hands finding the rough rope. The second pull felt heavier with the weight of names she didn't know. The bell tolled steady and deep, each strike cutting through the wind's howl like a promise. Below, in the crowded upper chamber, people knelt and closed their eyes. Even Mrs. Calloway lowered her head.
Let the sound be a compass to those who are lost. Let it bring them home.
The storm outside seemed to shift, the wind faltering for a heartbeat, then surging again with renewed fury. Sarah stood at the window, listening. The bell's echo was the only voice she waited for now.
Come on, follow it. I know you are out there.
The tower groaned as the wind tested its stones, but the walls held firm, the bell still moving with each pull. The dog pressed close to her leg, its whine a low counterpoint to the bell's steady voice. For a long moment, the only reply was the silence between tolls, and the world outside was a white void. Hours passed. The stove ate wood, the bell fell silent, and Sarah's hands hovered near the rope again. Then a faint cry cut through the wind, a child's voice, close enough to hurt. The dog bolted to the door, barking wildly. Sarah ran behind it. She pulled the door open. A woman fell through, clutching two children, snow piled in their hair. The mother collapsed, her grip still tight on the children.
Get them up by the stove. This is the last we open that door.
As they carried the frozen family into the warmth, the door was sealed for the last time. Through the narrow window, a pale light flickered, not storm, but something softer.
Is it over, Mama?
For the first time since the storm began, the wind seemed to stumble, then grow quiet. The storm fell away, not with a howl, but a long exhale. In the stillness, even the stones seemed to release a held breath. Sarah climbed the stairs alone, each step lighter than the last, until she stood beneath the silent bell. She leaned into the narrow window, the cold air biting her cheeks. Below, the world was buried in white, but the sky was clearing. She rested her forehead against the cold stone, and for the first time in days, let herself feel the exhaustion.
Mama, I came to find you. Is it really done?
It's done. We made it, Tom. The tower held.
I knew it would. I told Father Harmon you'd find a way.
Let us give thanks, not for the stone, but for the heart that made it a home.
A murmur of whispered amens filled the warm space, and for the first time, faces turned toward the light from the window. Sarah pulled Tom close, looking out at the ruined but quiet world. The bell was silent now, but its work was done. The sun broke over the ruined valley, and the stone tower stood unmoved, golden light in its highest window. One by one, they emerged from the tower into the blinding snowlight, blinking and silent. Then a murmur started. Every eye lifted to the tower top, where steam was rising from the stone. The snow that buried every other roof in the parish had melted clean from the bell tower. It stood dark and warm, while cabins around lay crushed under the white weight.
Mama, the heat melted the snow right off our tower. They can all see it now.
The heat rose, Tom. Just like I told you, it held us all.
She placed her palm against the warm stone, and steam curled around her fingers like a quiet proof. For the first time, the town looked at Sarah with something other than scorn. She stood at the tower door, the baby in her arms, the dog beside her, and let them look. Mrs. Calloway stepped from the crowd, head bowed, the stone beneath her feet silent witness.
I said this tower would be your children's tomb. I was wrong. You kept us all alive.
A murmur of agreement rippled through the survivors, several voices adding their own quiet amens.
It wasn't me. It was the heat rising. The stone did the work.
Tom stepped closer, his chest swelling with a pride he could barely contain.
My mama saw what no one else did. She's always right about things like that.
Father Harmon smiled, a rare softening in his tired eyes, and raised his hand in blessing.
Blessed are the ones who build shelter, where others see only danger.
The dog, perhaps sensing the shift, wagged its tail once, then sat at Sarah's feet like a loyal shadow. Sarah held the baby closer, and the sun touched her face. She did not gloat. She simply accepted the truth that had finally found her. The town dug out from under the snow, and every shovel full was a step toward a new kind of spring. Mr. Bryce limped to the tower door with an armload of split wood, his frost-scarred hands trembling.
I can't pay you for what you did, Sarah, but I can bring wood, and I can learn.
Learning is payment enough. The winter isn't done with us yet.
She knelt by a window in a neighbor's half-ruined cabin, showing them how to pack the cracks with frozen mud and rags.
Mama, you are teaching the whole village your secret.
No secret. Physics. Heat rises, and drafts kill. Block the wind, and the fire does the rest.
They listened, and around the parish, the sound of chinking stones and rustling rags filled the cold air.
The bell is silent, but its lesson rings on.
And above them all, the tower kept its warmth, a crown of steam in the frozen sky. She climbed the stairs one last time, the weight in her steps now just memory. The bell was still. She laid her hand on its cold bronze, feeling the silence like an answered prayer. Through the arch, the town below sent up thin ribbons of smoke, proof that life was returning.
You were right, Mama. You said the tower would be home, and it is.
It always was, Tom. We just had to prove it to the rest of the world.
She pulled him close, the two of them framed in stone and light. The bell didn't need to ring. Its work was finished. Sarah looked out one last time, then turned back toward the upper chamber where her baby slept. This was no longer a refuge. It was the warmest roof in the parish, and it was home. And it would be, as long as the heat rose. Night fell over the parish, deep and still, wrapping the tower in a silence no longer threatening. Sarah tucked the baby into the crook of Tom's arm, both of them breathing a slow, shared rhythm. Down by the stove, the dog's gentle snoring was the only sound in the stone room. She moved to the window and stood there, one palm flat against the warm stone. Outside, stars had pushed through the clouds, and the snow glowed faintly blue. A single tear slid down her cheek, not from grief, but from the pure, exhausted relief of having held on. The tower light pressed through the narrow window, a small, steady star in the frozen dark.
We're home. We're finally home.
The bell tower stood against the star-scattered sky, no longer a refuge, but a home. And in the quiet, the heat rose.